casts. Regardless, once again, we have some pretty awesome music playing from that Legacy of the Void soundtrack as we spawn in here for the Archon All-Stars tournament. Up at the top left, they're down, to my surprise in the series. It's going to be the Red Zerg Archon, Hyun, and Massan.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, it's Bunny and ChanmanV.
Let's see what we got bets at for this series, because, alright. Hyun and Massan have about 11,200 per tooth to bet on them, and Bunny and ChanmanV with 4,000 on them. Not too bad, not too shabby, but obviously a little bit more favorited here towards Team Zerg.
Well, I would have agreed with that. I would have bet Partus, but
yeah, prior to that last game, that was a bit surprising.
But seriously, like they do have both of the better players. Okay, so Hyun and Bunny could definitely go toe to toe, especially on Bunny's like good day and Hyun's good day. There should be a pretty epic series. But ChanmanV and Massan, you think that Massan would still win, even if they both been playing Hearthstone for quite some time. But you do an all in, it doesn't work for one reason or another. It's it's not easy to recover from that.
I definitely did not connect the dots of these both being like Hearthstone players too. Like that just dawned on me.
Oh.
But I guess a really quick look at the map while we're waiting for this to open up for those who have not seen it before. It has a very interesting third. That's the thing that appeals most to me, because this isn't quite dash and terminal levels of like open by any means. In fact, there's lots of chokes, and I actually feel like this is one of the few times you actually do kind of have a defender's advantage coming into it. You can always force your opponent to push through a choke to actually get to the drone line or kill your base. Fourths and fifths, of course, extend further down the map, but this island base is really cool too. I like what they've done with this, because you could still argue like, oh, well, Terrans could lift to the gold, but if they do, they can't really do anything with it.
Nah, this is like... This does look like a scrap station, like on its turned 90 degrees or whatever, but it also reminds me of Tal'Darim, I think. Was that the one? Where once they got rid of, there used to be ramps going up to the middle base like that, but then they got rid of the ramps, so it just became an island base that you could take in between if you got those spawn positions. Really old map, so I think most people probably don't remember it. Or maybe I'm using the wrong name too. I always got that one and another one confused. But anyways, talking again about this third base, I used to say the defender's advantage would work out, and I look at it as like, okay, Protoss with force fields obviously should have like a fine time.
Oh yeah, it's like
at their third, but that's also the reason why it would be bad, right? Because Zerg's trying to defend that would get force fielded off, and then you could run up the ramp.
Yeah.
Now force fields aren't nearly as big of a they're not as big of a deal as they were in Heart of the Swarm, and obviously this is a TvZ, so it doesn't really matter right now. But if there was a Protoss, I think these would be so abusable that it might still be worth it to get sentries, even if they really aren't good at it right now.
Yeah, and I forgot this is the map. You can just wall off this choke with like one depot, by the way, like literally.
Yeah, I heard about
because rocks in the middle and too long to go around the outside.
It might be siege tank drops. I mean, we have a siege tank on the way. We have a starport on the way. This kind of fell out. Like this at one point, this was like always something you wanted to do, and then 2-base Muta kind of countered it for a long time. Then 2-base Muta kind of fell out again. Hellion Liberator would hit before they were out and do a lot of damage. And now we're just back to it kind of being like a stylistic choice, like a good opener, especially if you think they're going to go for Roaches or a Nidus opener. If they're going for a Nidus build, then having tank drops that can be picked up and moved around is the best thing you can do. And Hyun is known for his Roaches.
Yeah, and we should also bring up the fact, well, there's the Nidus form on the way, but because you brought up that tank drop specifically, keep in mind, guys, they did, at the end of the beta, put a bit of a nerf on that tank, and once you unload it from the medevac, it's seriously like a 1.5 second delay or something before it can shoot again. I think 1.53 specifically. Either way, so you can still maneuver it around. It's very good to do that because it'll keep it alive, but it's going to be bad because it can't get the shot off. This drop, though, should scout this coming, and this is probably going to be pretty good. If all the Roaches are in the Nidus Worm, nobody's going to be at home to defend.
Yeah. So this obviously isn't dropping the tank, it's dropping the Marines, but it's almost like... The tank might do some damage, but one tank is almost never good enough, and 2 tanks is a little too risky. That's what we've just seen throughout the course, but at least this way you still do have the option to pick up the tank. If the medevac is back home and empty, that is. Now the tanks aren't focus fired, and hopefully the medevac won't be either. So far it's not, so it can move those tanks around. Why did he unsiege it? Why did he lose the medevac? Oh no. Well, he still cleans up anyway, so never mind.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Workers do get killed, but this wasn't so bad. However, round 2 of the Nidus Worm, second one pops out. Gets focused down pretty damn quick, though. No transfuses coming out of this Queens. Hyun and Massan already in a lot of trouble, and these two were my favorite to actually win this tournament, but at this rate, they're going to not even make it out of the round of 8.
This has not been that impressive of a showing. I mean, Nidus all-ins, again, if you don't go for tanks, can be, like, the Nidus pops and they GG. But not only having the tanks, but just staying on one base and having good production as well, it's all made it look easy.
They're going to try and Roche push to the front, but I don't think that's going to work. Okay, they're just taking the tower for now. I was going to say, I don't think that's going to work, though. They already know there's tanks in play, and once more, Hyun and Massan find themselves without that third base, only just now trying to take it.
Yeah. Again, neither do the Terran. The Terran don't have a third base, but they have this really nice production. And they lost one medevac. They are getting a reactor on a starport, and once the double medevac production starts, then you can continue attacking. Now, you don't usually want to do that without stim, but because you know that they have roaches, and I mean, you have the ability to pick up, you know, even if they morph in Ravagers, they usually don't get the shots off. Like, it's almost a good idea, always. Almost always a good idea to try and drop and attack, as long as you have those medevacs. It looks like they're a bit gas-starved right now, though, so just going for another tank.
By the way, Dena Nemen, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, Dena Nemen was the winner of the Pylon USB charger, so congratulations to you.
Something I also have that's over there.
Something that I wish I had. It's over nowhere.
What is blocking it?
It looks quite cool, actually, and I love the fact that it lights up, but beyond all of that it's actually useful. It can be used to charge something. That's pretty cool.
Actually, I can't tell what's blocking it. Well, I guess you can kind of see it. You guys can't see it. But.
No, I'm not even looking at you. No one's looking at your camera right now. You need to calm down. Ravagers. Okay, this could be an alright follow-up to this. So while in a position behind like this, it's not so great to just have Roaches, but Ravagers do help change the game up quite a bit, as their corrosive bile is quite deadly. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to bust in through the front and push through 5 siege tanks, but one of these sort of like, just in my opinion, more ultimate compositions we got to see a lot of towards the end of the beta was Roach Ravager Corruptor. It was strong, it was crazy, and most importantly, it was scary. A lot of Terran players couldn't deal with it, whether they were playing mech or bio or tanks or not. So this is something where I see potential for Hyun and Massan, but whether they can actually capitalize on that's another question.
And unfortunately, while that was strong for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, people started to not use it for whatever reason. I don't think it was ever a case that it got figured out. We were like, oh, yep, you know, just build 5 tanks and it's so easy to take down. No, we never saw that, but people just stopped using it. They went back into like a Roach attack into Mutas, or they went into Roach Baneling as an all-in kind of build. And yeah, they stopped using those corruptors. Now, what I'm hoping is that the Spire is corruptors, and the metabolic boost is just for the little bit extra, because it's 100, and after a while, it is still worth to get it. So maybe like they may only be getting it just in case, I should say. But I really hope they're not transferring over into Lang Baneling Muta.
Yeah, that's Hyun is actually a little bit guilty of that being a bit of a problem for him. He'll have a good composition and just decide to go heavy on Banelings. Actually, you know, furthermore, I'm loving this choice of Ravagers even more just due to the map. You're not pushing through this choke with Corrosive Biles rating above, not without medevac support at least. So this is a really good position for Massan and Hyun to try and keep the Terran army at bay.
Well, it's also one that isn't going to be broken by the Zerg either, because the tanks are, of course, taking over that choke too. And unfortunately, when you go Roach Ravager, it's quite difficult to run around an army without being spotted and simply repositioning. And he's trying to do that.
A couple of small roaches, yeah, looking to perhaps hit up thirds, but I guess, you know, Chanman and Bunny are only on their way to a third now. Hyun and Massan are working towards a fourth. So, again, Team Zerg, I don't feel great about their position in the game, but I don't fear for them just yet either.
I'm not really sure how this is going to work out.
If the Ravagers had been in position sooner, they could have taken out all those tanks as soon as they unloaded. Several of the tanks do go down, but most of the bio falls to the Corrosive Biles. However, I don't think there's enough follow-up with the Roaches. 4 Roaches across the map could have been helpful at home, but not enough to stop this army. Marauders and Marines pushing forward. Them trying to kite around with the cooldown on that Corrosive Bile. Get some good hits on the Marauders, but the tanks are still a bit of a problem over here on the left side.
Yeah. Even with Ravagers, the problem still exists that after a while, Roaches just don't match up against Stim with medevacs, and after a while, of course, with upgrades as well, which Terran does have over Zerg. So Does finally take out the tanks, but it's all about the bio right now that is still rallying across slowly as everyone is running out of money in their main and someone in their natural.
Yeah, it does seem that while this was going on, we had the Zerg players start going back towards melee weapons, so perhaps thinking of actual banelings and lings. And I don't know, I kind of feel like if they just dedicated a Roach tech onto some Hydras, especially a Lurker or two with chokes like this behind it, it would have been a much better choice. All those drones from the natural stayed pulled, so they're actually dead. It's a lot of workers killed at this point.
Yeah, it's looking like a 2-0 for the Terran. Big surprise. At least for us. Maybe someone else knew that, like, Chanman was like, they had like super cool stratch. I don't know.
Chanman's a god, dude. Bunny knew it. He said Chanman was going to do all the work and he was going to do nothing, so. If only the rest of the world knew the powers of ChanmanV.
Now, this is funny. Maybe only one of them was, like, dedicated to creep spread, so the creep is denying Terran's third base.
You know, if they had more drones and if there was a recovery plan here, that would actually be fantastic. That would be super abusive. But unfortunately, once again, the drones in the natural are going to die. Very few roaches are just kind of funneling in. Kind of feels like nobody knows where to go, what to do. It's just chaos here on the Zerg side of the map.
Yeah. With how many Marauders there are, it would have been better to flood those lings, but flooding is quite hard to do when you have that reduced larva. 18 larva is not bad, but now, you know, of course, now they don't have the money.
GG. Oh, wow. Hyun and Massan gonna have the 2-0 over them. I'm surprised. Like, I really thought Hyun could have, like, one hand tied behind his back, taking on everybody listed in this tournament, but oh dear. Looks like sadly we're gonna see Massan fall. This is a bummer for me, man. I really was cheering for Massan and Hyun, but ChanmanV and
Goodbye,
Liquid's Bunny. Congratulations, Team Terran.
Ooh, new sound effect for the stats. Vroom. I swear that wasn't there before.
I'm waiting for it. I didn't hear anything.
Oh.
So this means the winners of Kellizer and Strifeco fighting against Huck and In Control will fight against Bunny and Chanman next. And that's a best of 5 we will be covering. I do, however, have the replays of Violet's Stefano versus Massa and Trump. I'm guessing I know how that went because I got those really quickly. But we'll take a look at those a little bit later. However, I guess we will pop off to a break. Just a small break. So stick with us, folks. We'll see you in a couple of minutes while we figure out when the next match will take place. Also, more giveaways. Keep an eye on chat.